Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Andrea Pearson Show. My name is Andrea, and for today's episode, we're going to be talking about um, the importance of being clear in your communicating as a leader. So, if you own your own business and you're the only person in that business, we'll talk about that. And we'll also discuss if you have a business that has more than one employee, including yourself. So, why is it so important for a great leader to be clear in how they communicate and in what they communicate? I'm going to give you all the different reasons for that, and I'm looking forward to it. So we're actually just going to dig right into it. I've got my notes over here. Okay, so what do we need to be communicating, and why and how are we needing to communicate that, and with whom, right? So first off, why is it important for you to be a clear communicator? Especially when it comes to like the visions and the goals and the missions of the company. And the reason why that's important is because if your employees know where you're headed, know where the company is headed, then they're going to be better able to help you get there. And especially if they know what role they have to play in that company's in the company's mission and the company's vision. And so the more um the more open you are with what you expect from them, what their role is, and where the company is headed, the better ability they have, the more freeing it is basically for them to be able to make decisions without having to come to you for help for everything. And that's a huge thing. Like, you don't want to have somebody okay, so let me rephrase that. You want to empower your team members to within their role, so they know exactly what they're supposed to be doing within the role you've given them and the role that they've been hired for. And the more open you are with your employees, the better able they are to work within that role, to be able to grow within their role. And the more open you are, the less of a like stepping on each other's toes going to happen. So they'll be able to figure out together or even separately who's doing what and what they're working on and what they're working towards. So you need to be clear about the goals, the visions, the missions of the company, and where you envision things going, so that they know where they fit in, and so they are able to work better with each other in that within that framework that you provided. Okay, then another thing is, it's you need to be consistent. So clear communication requires consistency, and being inconsistent is one of the biggest issues with clients that I've had, even clients that are have no employees, because you're not like in a bubble. Like, the way the choices that you make and the way you interact with other people affects how they view you. And especially for those of us who are authors, those of us who have a business where we don't have employees, where it's just us. The way we present ourselves to other people will affect our reputation with those people. It will build our brand, even if it's a negative brand with other people. And so when you have employees and you are inconsistent with them, it drops their trust in you, and they don't believe um, that you are good at what you're doing. They don't believe that you're competent. So if you're not consistent in how you communicate with your employees, they're going to lose respect and trust for you. It also allows for better decision making. So if you are, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier, if somebody knows where they're headed and what they're supposed to do, they're not going to have to come to you repeatedly for advice on how to handle something. They'll know what they're supposed to do. Like, if you've got a receptionist, how do I answer the phone when, or how do I handle this sort of a phone call? If you give them that sort of direction up front and you're clear with them with what you expect from them, then they won't have to come to you for help. It's part of training basically. And you're going to have to be good about that and consistent with that continually throughout time and across time, because things do change. Companies and corporate, like, the culture changes, the way you want them to be handling things changes. You can't expect them to know what those changes are unless you're communicating those very clearly. And then also it allows them, so they don't have to ask, but also prevents mistakes and misunderstandings. So if you've got employees who are going to ask, that's, that you would prefer they ask. The best thing, of course, is if you're clear in your communication up front, but you would rather have them ask for clarification. But there are people and personality types that just are not prone to ask. They'd rather figure it out on their own, and they're just more independent. And that is not something bad. That's not a bad personality type. But if you know that they're going to be prone to making mistakes, or if they're in a position where mistakes are more plausible, be more clear in your communication up front, so that they're not likely as much to make those mistakes, and so that misunderstandings also don't happen. And then also, you want to be transparent. So clear communication is transparency. And if you are I don't know, like, okay, so for an example, like I've had people who are planning on having an employee take over their company instead of a family member who's working for the company. So the more transparent you are, the more trust you're going to be building, the more open you are, the more people are going to respect you. And if you know that this sort of a change is coming, you're going to want to be open about it really early. Like don't hold those things back, don't hide those sorts of things that can be viewed as a form of manipulation, and you don't want people viewing you that way because again it loses their respect and trust for you. And then also, like, companies go through inevitable seasons of changes. There's new hires, people quit, people get fired. The more clairvoyant the more clairvoyant you are, no, the more transparent you are, and the clearer your communication is, the easier the transition is going to be through those areas of change and those seasons of change. And, conflict resolution also, like, more clear you are with your or the clearer you are with your communication, the easier it is to resolve conflict. So, if you are always honest and people know that you will always be honest, that actually can resolve a lot of the conflict ahead of time because they know that they'll be able to come to you and they'll get a straight answer. And you're not gonna be, like, beating around the bush, you're not gonna be trying to manipulate or try to, um pressure somebody to do something they don't want, or being dishonest so that they'll continue doing something you want them to do when they aren't going to be getting what they think they'll be getting. So, conflict resolution, and again, between employees, the clearer you are with where you are planning on having things go, the less likely you are to have conflict because again, it defines the roles between the different staff members or team members. Okay, so it also builds up morale. Clear communication can be a morale booster because you're recognizing people who are doing a good job, and you're helping in private people who aren't doing as well know what they need to do. And the better you are at communicating um, your disappointment or the things that they aren't doing well, the more of a morale booster it can be. It can encourage them to do a better job. And so don't ever underestimate the importance of clear communication when it comes to the morale of your company and the company culture. Let's see. I already talked about that one. Efficiency and productivity. You want people to be making less mistakes. You want misunderstandings to be happening not often. It basically saves time, so you're not going to be having people in your office as often. Like this misunderstanding happened, or this conflict happened, or this mistake happened. The clearer you are with your communication, then the more time it will save you. And yes, a lot of it's going to be front loaded, and a lot of the like clients I've worked with in the past, they don't want to deal with that front loading. They would rather, oh, I don't want to have to deal with it. But that's just a sign of a poor leader. You want to be a great leader. You want to have clear communication. It builds your credibility. And I've talked about respect and trust. You want to be credible in the eyes and competent in the eyes of your employees and the people that you work with, people outside of your organization. Build your credibility by being a great leader, sorry, who communicates. And it's better to over communicate than to under communicate. Crisis management also. So when something happens in your company, like if a fire alarm or an emergency or something that happens, like somebody passing out, the more clear you are in your communicating, even in those times of panic and crises, the better overall things are going to turn out. So work on being good on your feet, fast on your feet in times of emergency, and not, jumping into like anger or any other issues like that. So focus on your ability to be a clear communicator even in times of crises and manage and stress and panic. So I did mention a lot of the ones that I've just talked about are things that are geared to people who own a company that have more than one people working for them. But it is just as important for people who are in basically a one-man band to have clear communication as it is for somebody who is in a large or medium or even small organization. And the reason for that is because you're not like this lone island in the middle of the ocean. You have clients or patients or customers, or those of you who are authors, you have readers, you have people and others, like your not coworkers but colleagues, or other authors or other people who are in the same field that you're in, who pay attention to um how you present yourself to the world and to other people. And so it's really important for you to monitor how you're communicating with other people, with your clients and your patients, your customers, and for them to recognize again, so that you build your credibility, you build the trust and the respect that people have for you. So you're not an island, you are not this lone person. You have to interact with somebody somewhere, and every interaction, if it's not clear, will lower your credibility and will lower respect and trust for you. So you need to be focusing on making sure that the way you interact with people that are affected by your business is a very clear communication style. And so resolve issues, avoid issues, build trust by being clear with your vendors, your suppliers, your readers, your clients, customers, patients, all of these people, even if you are just you and your company and you don't have any team members. And then also when it comes to marketing and brand, you need to be clear in what you're putting out into the world, even if you aren't interacting with people one-on-one or in a way where it's like, a face-to-face type situation. So if you're marketing your product online and your ads aren't clear in what you're marketing, that's a really bad, that's unprofessional, immature. It's an immature way to approach business. And so make sure that your brand and the marketing material that you're putting out there is solidly in line with the services and the product that you are selling. And otherwise, again, it lowers your credibility, and at best, it makes it so people forget you, and at worst, it makes people not want to do business with you. And then also networking, again, I already said this, but with other professionals, collaboration and connection. So if you have a good, if you've built yourself up as a credible person, as somebody who's competent, respectable, and trustworthy, it will open up avenues for collaboration and connection, and for building up your business better, and also helping other people build their business, so that as you're growing together, you're able to have more success together, even if you have separate businesses. And so the clearer you are in communicating with like colleagues or people who are at your level, the more opportunities you'll have for expansion later. And then let's see, so finances, like the people you communicate with on your finance team. So like if you have an accountant, um, if you are keeping track of your profit and loss, which you should, your P&L statement is a form of communication, like you keeping track of your expenses for your business, and for the things that you are, like your income, all of that stuff, like the expenditures, the bills, your debt, all of that stuff, that is a form of communication. And the more clear you are with all of that, the better your and more smoothly your business will run. And then also public speaking, teaching, anytime, like if you're on a panel, anytime you're in front of an audience, you need to work on your ability to clearly communicate your ideas and the things that you value, and the theme of whatever it is you're presenting or you're on a panel for. And so being a clear communicator in that position is also hugely beneficial. Okay, and then last, I want to talk about this part last, because it applies to everybody. You need to be clear in your communication with yourself. If you're not, and I've talked about setting goals, and I look over here because that's where I've got my list of, what makes a good goal. But you need to be clear in the goals that you're setting for yourself. You need to be clear with yourself, because there is a chance that you can lose credibility with yourself. And that's like one of the worst things in the world. If you drop the ball over and over, you will not be motivated to pick it up again. And eventually it's going to destroy your business, because it'll destroy your motivation. It'll destroy your purpose and your reason for why. And you need to have a strong reason for why you are doing what you are doing. If you're not clear with yourself on what it is that you are working towards, what your goals are, what your vision is for your future of your business, then you are not going to be making that become a reality, and you will lose credibility with yourself, which is, I think, the most important thing on the face of the planet when it comes to running a business. If you cannot respect yourself, then why should anybody else respect you? Why should anybody give you any money if you are not worthy of receiving that money, because you're not taking yourself seriously? Anyway, so that's pretty much it for this episode. I don't know if you've noticed, those of you on YouTube, those of you on the podcast, I've been doing bite-sized business tips, and I'm going to continue doing those, just because they're short, they're easy for me to do, and it allows me to get out the passion. I just very excited about these topics I'm talking about. And the most recent ones have been about Facebook ads. I'm going to be delving into a whole bunch of different topics. So make sure you're subscribed, whether it be on YouTube or wherever this podcast is. If you're on YouTube, hit the like button. If you're anywhere else, make sure you are subscribed, comment, ask if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them. I've got a form in the description that will allow you to ask a question. It can be on any topic. As I've said, I am a certified financial coach. You can ask financial questions, personal or business related. And You can ask marketing. I love marketing. I'm very passionate about marketing. Go ahead and ask any marketing questions you have or anything that's related to anything I've discussed so far. Go ahead and ask those, and I will have a future episode that will be a Q&A. I've got some questions that are building up. I haven't gotten to them. I'm sorry about that. I will. I'm planning on getting enough so I can do an actual full episode that is a Q&A. So go ahead and leave those below if you're on YouTube or in the form if you don't want it to be a public question. I will answer it publicly, but I won't put your name to it. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you so much. I love you all, and I appreciate you for listening and for subscribing. And I look forward to yeah, building our relationship and continuing. Okay, talk to you all later. Bye.